Gary Kujava, strength was Minnesota, graduated in 1967, worked for a farmer till I was drafted in 69, April 22nd of 69. And I went, basic was in Fort Lewis, Washington.
How'd you get there?
Huh?
How'd you get to Fort Lewis?
Train
From Fargo?
from Fargo. Went there and I tell you what, military you learned a lot. You learned how to get your ass kicked. I don't know if I'm supposed to say that or whatever, but that
Okay.
you learned a lot. You learned that pushed a lot into you. You thought you were a man until you come out.
What was basic training like?
Basic training was all right. It basically you learned a lot. You learned how to shoot, how to fight, how to guard duty, and stuff like that. How to do push-ups, how to do PT, because I could run a 5-minute mile and stuff like that. I was really surprised that at that time I was in pretty good shape.
In boots and...
Yeah.
Yep.
And after graduation, I went to Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri.
How'd you get there?
Plane, flew back from Fort Lewis, went to Leonard Wood on a plane. And then I started there and I went into AIT, which that was heavy equipment and stuff like that. And I learned how to run a cat, learned how to, a little bit of grader. They teach you basically the basic function, payloader, forklifts.
What kind of
whatever.
barracks did you stay in? Were they brick or...
The old wood barracks
Okay.
and stuff like that. It was really interesting, and it was the same thing as basic training. You had to keep the barracks clean, you had to shine the floors and stuff like that. I didn't have to worry about the bald head because I had hair then.
Mm-hmm.
And then after AIT, I went to, got my orders and I went to Germany for 6 months. Spent time in Germany in a motor pool. They made me kind of a mechanic and lived in one of those old, those old barracks.
Where were you at in Germany?
This place called Siegelsbach, a nuclear weapons base.
Okay.
And then they gave me a forklift and I loaded nuclear weapons on transport and stuff like that. I had to have a security clearance, and then when I didn't do that, then I was doing mechanic work, driving 5-ton deuce and a halves. Even got to drive the company commander around in the sedan and stuff.
Okay.
And then in, I can't remember, June or July, I got levied to go to Vietnam.
So were you drafted or...
I was drafted.
Okay. All right.
And I came home for 30 days, and the reason why I went to Germany, I had a brother that was in Vietnam.
So they could have both of you there
I
at the same
could have
time?
both of us there at the same time, but when he came back, then I went over, because I was heavy equipment. But, it's kind of funny, when I got there, they don't put you where you went to school for. They put me as a combat engineer where I had to learn how to do demo, had to learn how to build bridges and stuff like that.
And they did that training there in Vietnam?
Right.
Where were you in Vietnam?
Well, Camp Eagle, Phu Bai, my last station was Quang Tri.
Okay.
And basically in Quang Tri, I did minesweep. And that was, every day you did minesweeps from the base, from Quang Tri to the fire base.
When you say minesweep, what's that entail?
You go out there with a detector and you sweep the roads
Okay.
and stuff like that.
So you have a detector, you got a headset on?
Yeah, it's on, and sometimes it just could be a piece of frag or whatever would beep, and so you'd have to stop and find it, dig it up and whatever. But we found a few rounds, and they were short rounds. And then
Buried in the ground?
right, And then when I got done with minesweep, then I went and worked in a rock quarry. A rock crusher was pushing the rocks off the hill into a circle, and then one guy would be pushing with a cat, the other guy would be down pushing with another cat.
What was the object of this?
We pushed them in a pile, put a ring main all the way around the rocks, and you see forward, we crushed the rocks.
Blew them up.
Blew them up, because that's, there was no rock crusher over there, so that's what we did.
And use the crushed rock for?
Around culverts, whatever it is, during the monsoon season.
Sure.
Then when the monsoon season came, we had to still patrol the roads.
To hold it in place?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay.
The barracks were, well, we called them hooches. The barracks were just basically wooden plywood buildings.
With sandbags around them?
Yeah. And then in the middle, they had a culvert where you could jump into the culvert and stuff like that. And stuff.
In case you ever came under attack?
Right. Well, we came under attack. We had a lot of incoming. And I went over to Germany, I was an E4. When I went to Vietnam, they made me an E5 or Spec 5. They put me in charge of a squad, which I really didn't kind of like giving orders, but I went through it, got done with it, and learned a lot there too, how to manage men and stuff like that.
Okay.
And
So how long were you in Vietnam?
11 months.
11 months. Okay.
And I didn't do a quite year, so when I came back, I had to do 2 weeks in Camp McCoy in Wisconsin,
Huh.
because I didn't do a full tour.
Okay. Was there anything about Vietnam that you liked?
The with the people. We had blacks, we had Hispanics, we had Puerto Ricans, we had Polacks, and whatever. And guys from Tennessee, Arkansas, North Carolina, South Carolina, which I really got to know well.
Okay.
This Hurley from North Carolina, first time he ever had a pair of shoes is when he got drafted. And he has feet where I would say probably 14 by 8 inches wide. They were just big feet. Got along great. I got along good with my men.
Good.
Stuff. And a lot of times we'd go over to the 101st, which was we were attached to the Charlie Company, 27 engineers. We were attached to the 101st engineers, or 101st Airborne.
Airborne, huh?
So we'd go over there to the EM club, we put pallets across the Constantina wires so we could go over there. And a lot of times we're sitting there having a few drinks or whatever when we'd be in base camp, and then we'd get incoming. So we had to run across to get our barracks. I was in charge of an M60. Get an M60, get the shells, and go into the bunker.
Yeah. Okay. So when you, where'd you leave from when you left Vietnam?
Cam Bay.
Cameron
And
Bay.
I flew into Cam Bay.
Okay.
But you know, when I flew in, and like I say, it took a few days before you got to your permanent station. So they put you on guard duty, working in the mess hall until you found your original spot where you're going to be at.
Okay, when you flew out of Cameron Bay, what Freedom Bird was that fun to see?
Well, yeah, it was fine. And then,
Were you still in fatigues or?
yes, we were all the way into fatigues till we got to Fort Lewis, Washington to process out.
Okay, so you went to Fort Lewis to process?
Our
Okay.
process, well, I suppose I left from Fort Lewis to go to Vietnam, and I suppose that was your processing station out, so.
Yep.
And I did basic training there too.
Did you get your steak dinner and
No,
didn't bother with it, huh?
no.
Okay,
I was just ready to get glad and go home.
got your Class A's and went home.
Yeah.
Okay, where did, you came back here to,
Came back to Minnesota, went back to work for the same company that I did before, the same farmers.
Well, you said you had to go to Wisconsin so you must have had some kind of leave and then went to Wisconsin for
Yeah, for 2 weeks.
2 weeks. Yep.
And that was kind of a joke and a half because you really didn't do nothing. You got paid, I think, $600 a week or whatever it was just for go over there. We're supposed to work on guard shacks or rifle ranges, put new roofs on or whatever and stuff.
You got 600 a week?
Huh?
Wow. Well, you were in the military?
Yeah,
Wow. And,
and plus traveling miles and stuff like that.
okay,
I went with a guy from Stephen named Arnie Austin. Me and him went together and stuff.
okay. And you were discharged out of Wisconsin?
No, a discharge out of Fort Lewis, Washington.
Oh, you were discharged out of there.
And then that was just a year later. I had to go there. I got a letter in the mail that I had to go for 2 weeks to camp because I received an early out.
Okay.
Some did, some didn't.
So you went back to Fort Lewis for 2 weeks?
No, back to Wisconsin.
Back to Wisconsin, okay, all right. All right, and then after you got out of the military and you got out in what year?
The 19th of April of 71.
71, okay. And so, how many years did you have in?
2 years.
2 years. Okay, then you came home,
Came home to my parents.
yep. And what'd you do?
Well, first thing, my parents didn't have really a lot to live on. So I sent them $250 home when I was in Vietnam. So they could put in running water in the bathroom. I got home and I asked my mom, Dad, where's the bathrooms? Where's the running water? He said, where's the $250? They went and got a can, and the money was in the can in her dresser. And I said, that's enough of this crap. And then when I come home also, she had breast cancer. So then I took and got a carpenter in there, remodeled the house, put a bathroom, utility room in, a bedroom downstairs, and bought her a washer and dryer. Because she had the old Ringer, and I still have the old Ringer washing machine. And then it was, that was home. And then I started a job working for a farmer, Connor Griscavage. I worked there for 7 until I got married. And then I started in 78, then I started working for H&S full time.
Okay,
Put in 41 years.
41 years at H&S.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then retired, and what have you been doing since then?
Working on myself. We're working. I got a little welding shop. I monkey around working for farmers. I help them bale hay. I help them with the cattle. Help them with anything they need help with. Cultivating in the fields and stuff like that. Just to keep me busy.
Kind of Gary of all trades.
Yeah, jack of all trades, master of none.
Yeah, there you go. And you're a Legion member?
Yeah, an Argyle Legion.
You were with Stranquist for quite a while. weren't you?
No.
Oh, okay,
I
I'm
was-
sorry.
Lou Efta signed me up here about 75, and I never paid I paid him for a few years, and then I didn't pay him. So when I fully retired, then I started in the Argyle, back to the Argyle Legion.
Okay,
And I suppose I got 2 or 3 years in here now.
yep. And what are you doing? You're helping out, aren't you?
Yeah, helping out. I'm the head cook here.
There you go.
Nobody's died yet, so.
So, anything you'd have changed while you were in the service? Would like to see changed or done?
Gotta stop and think. Yeah, there should have been some things for some of these people, like, I got a brother that's kind of he should have went to the service. He would have learned more, I think, as far as functions and doing stuff. Otherwise, he's about as lazy as a toothpick and stuff.
So you think the service would have did a
I
lot
think the
of good?
service would, there's a lot of these guys
Yeah.
that should have went to the service, even if, you know, looking back, we had a guy that had basic training from Roseau. He took, and he went AWOL. When we graduated, the MPs were bringing him back.
Mhm.
So he started all over again, which he could have been done with and did whatever. Who knows, he probably would have never come back anyway and stuff.
Yeah.
But to me, the military was a good learning experience. I learned a lot. I appreciate Uncle Sam for what they did for me. I got some health issues now, but it's what it is.
Yeah.
In Vietnam, I worked in the jungles and I had that Agent Orange chemicals and all this shit and whatever, just to.
Well, Gary, I'll tell you, I know you're well respected in the community, in the county, and I thank you for this interview, and thank you for your service.
Thank you very much. You